channel, guys. Today we'll be making some chile rellenos. We'll begin by getting our chile poblanos. Here I have about 5 that I'm going to be using for today's recipe. So we'll begin by rinsing off our chile poblanos in the sink. From there we'll go ahead and move them to our hot griddle pan that we have here on the stovetop. Go ahead and let them get us charred as much as we can, and after they are all charred, we'll go ahead and move them over to a plastic bag so they can sweat and make it easier to peel. As you can see here, they are nice and cooled down, and I'm going to begin by peeling them. I usually put on some plastic gloves so that way, in case they are spicy, my fingers won't start to burn. So as you can see here, after leaving them in the bag for I think I left it about an hour, the skin comes off fairly easy. I'm going to go ahead and do this to all of our 5 chiles. So once you are all done peeling them, this is how they're gonna look. So now we are gonna begin to take out all the seeds on the inside of the chiles. So with the butter knife, you can go ahead and open them up and just start taking out the seeds very carefully, because the chile is very soft and tender, so if you work real hard with it, it will tear. And so all we want is it to have that front opening. That way it's easier to fill and be able to coat it in our batter to fry them. Sometimes you don't get that result, and some of them do begin to tear in the back or in other places, but that's okay because we can fix that later on. So now we are gonna start to fill our poblano peppers with cheese. You can use any type of filling that you like. Sometimes you can use meat, other times you can use potatoes, but today I'm just gonna be using cheese. So I have some shredded quesadilla cheese, and then here I have a Colby Jack style cheese. I usually use a different kind of cheese for my chile rellenos, but this is all that was at the store this time around, so we're gonna go ahead and work with what we got. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them into strips, thick ones, and then I'm gonna get my poblano pepper, open it, and just place one block of the cheese on one side and one on the other side, and then fill the middle with the shredded cheese. Then I'm gonna fold it the seams over one another so it can close. What I also do is put these in the freezer for a little bit after I have stuffed them all so that they can kind of freeze a little and they won't open, or you can use toothpicks to keep them closed. I really don't like to use toothpicks because then you have to take them out before you eat them. So the best way is to put them in the freezer for about 30 minutes so they can firm up and it's easier to dip them into your batter. So now we are going to start to make what I call the batter in which we dip our Chile Rellenos. So I'm going to start by separating my egg whites and my yolks, and we are going to be using the yolks as well, so we are going to put those to the side. But we're going to go ahead and do about 4 eggs for 5 poblano peppers. And these are pretty small. If they were a bit bigger, then we would use at least 1 or 2 eggs extra than what we're using right now. So just go ahead and separate those. So once you're done separating your egg whites, you're going to go ahead and put them in the mixer and start mixing them. You're going to go ahead and mix them until your egg whites start to form stiff peaks. As you can see here, it doesn't take that long. I would say about 5 minutes. So once your egg whites are done, they'll look something like this. So now that we are done with that, we're going to go ahead and add in our yolks, and we're going to mix them in very slowly. Try not to mix it fast because then you will break your egg whites. We just want to incorporate those egg yolks. So now what I'm going to do is add in about 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And I like to do this because I feel like it helps the batter adhere very well to the poblano peppers. This is optional, it's up to you, but this is just a preference that I have. So I've gone ahead and set up my assembly line to go ahead and get my Chile Rellenos done. As you can see here, I have some oil that I've heated on the stove top, and I have my coffee. Can't cook without my coffee. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Chile Relleno and make sure it is folded shut so that none of the filling falls out. And I'm going to go ahead and just coat it lightly with the all-purpose flour, and this is just to make sure that the egg batter sticks to my chile. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dip it in there, move it around, make sure everything gets nice and coated, you can see here. And then I'm gonna carefully put it into the pan with the oil. I have like a little spot that was missing egg batter, so I just went ahead and put some on there with my fingers. And go ahead and just let it cook on one side. When I see the edges turning a little brown, then I'll just go ahead and flip it around and just let that cook. And some of the edges are not getting touched by the oil because it's very little bit of oil that I have stuck in the pan. So what I do is I just get the spatula and throw some oil on it, kind of flip it around a little bit and just make sure everything gets nice and cooked. So once my chile relleno is done, I just take it out of the pan and I put it on a plate with some paper towels just so it can soak up the excess oil. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this to all my chiles. As you can see here, I have some. I'm going to flip them over once I see the edges are brown. And I usually just pick them up by the tail of the pepper, but you can also use a spatula if you feel that it might come out when you flip it. And this is how they'll look once they're done. So now I'm going to show you how to make a salsa that you'll put up on the bottom of the plate and then put your chile relleno on top. And all it is onion, tomato, and I'll put a little serrano pepper on it just so it can have a little bit of flavor and a little bit of spice. So I'm just gonna cut up my onion into slices, my serrano as well, and my tomato. So in this pan I've added some oil. I'm going to go ahead and take my serrano pepper and my onions and put it in the pan. And to this I am also going to add some garlic. I'm going to go ahead and let that cook for a little bit just so that the onions can get a little translucent. And let's not forget our salt as well. So once our onions are a little translucent, we're going to go ahead and add in all of our tomatoes. Then we're going to go ahead and let those tomatoes cook down and release all of its juices. As you can see here, some of the tomatoes have already released their juices, and this is how it's gonna start looking. So we're just gonna let that cook a little while. And as you can see here, I had a little visitor who came to visit mommy to see what she was doing here in the kitchen. So once our tomatoes have cooked down, we're gonna go ahead and add some water. And we want this to be like a salsa, so I like to just kind of smush what I have in there. And I'm gonna add a little bit of tomato. And then I'm just going to let that cook down for a little bit. We're also going to add in a little bit of chicken bouillon, just so it can give it a little bit more flavor. So once it's cooked down, this is how it's going to look. And you're ready to eat. We're going to start by assembling our plate. Right here I have some refried beans that I have already made. Put those on the plate, and then I'm going to put the salsa that we just made for our chile rellenos. Go ahead and scoop some and put some on the plate. And once I've put as much as I like on the plate, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a chile relleno and lay it on there. And I've also made some rice, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that to our plate as well. So now I'm just gonna add some queso fresco to the top, and this is how it's gonna look. I hope y'all enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe.